and I'm going to be answering any questions or passing them on to Sue, as is our usual MO. You've got a question box that you can type any questions that you might have. No question is too big or too small, so go ahead and toss it in there, and I'll moderate the question, answer it if I can, and if I can't, I'll pass it on to Sue. I hope everybody's having a great ramp up for the holiday. Christmas is just right around the corner, and we'll just go ahead and jump right in.
All right. Thank you, Russell. TLKT, one of my favorite tools. So we've had a couple of webinars so far, and for guys who haven't joined us before, I'll just quickly go through and show you how to start a new project, point out the cool bits along the way. So when you create a new project, you want to enter your seed term, obviously. Let's say bicycle. And then you can pick your locale. And once you've picked your locale, you can also, well, picking your locale will also pick your language. So for example, if you pick Deutschland, it'll be in German. If you pick Spain, it'll be in Spanish. So on. So let me find the United States again. If you pick the UK, you'll get British English as opposed to American English. And then you can hit Q, and Bob's your uncle. It will go off and drill your project for you. So, and they take between 5 and 10 minutes to drill, depending on how many keywords it sorts through. So, so let's just start by looking at a project that's already drilled out so that we don't take time waiting for that to drill. I'm here in affiliate marketing, which I thought would be a topic that people could relate to rather easily, and one that I can pronounce easier than the last webinar we had. And so there's a myriad of things that you can do once projects are drilled out. The cool thing about TLKT is that you can create your own filters and columns so that you can decide how you want to look at the data, how you want to filter it and parse it, and come up with all kinds of interesting different ways of looking at it. And I put in a column already, which I thought we should dissect and just take a look at what's going on here. So when you show your options, the options between a filter and a column, they're not too many different options, but there's the idea with a column is that you're going to take data and create a new data element out of it. So obviously there are ideas within the filter that aren't available within the column, and vice versa. So for example, let's see if I can switch these screens around so we can see everything at the same time. Here, what I've done is I've taken the keyword searches per day, multiplied it by 365, and divided it by 12, so that we're looking at a month, right? So we're looking at a month's worth of searches, and I'm going to take that month's worth of searches and multiply it by 25%. The idea there being, if you're ranked in the top couple, and you've got all of these people doing these searches, there's only going to be a percentage of them that are going to click through to your site. Some of them are going to click further down, some of them are going to click on ads, some of them aren't going to click at all. So let's just say that 25% are going to click through to your site. Out of the 25% that click through to your site, you might get a conversion rate of 1%. And then if your profit per sale is at $10, you can of course make that whatever your average profit is on a sale, then you get an idea of what your potential profit is for a keyword. So when we show this column, it's going to calculate this out and give you your potential profit down here on the side. So this can be a really cool thing. This is one of the ideas that we took and developed further in Domain Web Studio. But it's a cool way to do a quick drill and decide whether or not there's a reasonable amount of profit in a topic, particularly if you're maybe looking for affiliate products. You can see whether or not that particular affiliate idea is going to be reasonable, going to have a reasonable amount of return for you. The other interesting thing that we might want to do with that would be to bring in how competitive it is. If you want to look at the Google number of competing pages, or actually let's say that you are looking at an affiliate product, because that actually brings in a really interesting concept. You're not actually going to have those sales purchased on your site, but they're actually going to have to click through to the affiliate sales site, and let's say that you get 1% of the people that actually click from your site to the affiliate sales site, and then you only get a 1% conversion, or maybe they've got a really good site and you get a 3% conversion once you hit there. So let's look at that, and let's keep the profit margin at 10%. We'll call this affiliate potential profit and show that column. And you can see how, I remember this keyword was $5 before. It's taken it right down to 0, having that extra step in there. In fact, it's taken the profit on a lot of these keywords right down to 0. On a monthly basis, I'm sure that if we looked at it, say, on a quarterly basis, you'd be more liable to make more money. Let's say instead of dividing this by 12, if we want to look at it by a quarter, we could say divided by 4, and this would give us a quarterly potential. So now you can see there's a little bit more money there when we multiply it by 4, but still not a great deal. I'd have to say that in this particular, if I were doing affiliate marketing for affiliate marketers, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of money in that particular topic. So, that said, it doesn't look like there are any questions in the question box yet, so I'll continue onward. Let's look at, that was actually the cash flow column that I was looking at right there. Let's take a look at some of the default things. Larry we've talked about before, but I might just talk about it again. This is our theme relevance indicator, and this is very cool in that you can see how relevant these terms are to your seed term. So where this can get really cool, the idea of Larry can get really cool, is that you can pick it up and use it in a filter, which we've actually started working on integrating TLKT with Domain Web Studio, and that's one of the things that we're going to do automatically. So I'm just going to pick that up, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to bring it over here, I'm going to apply it as a filter, and I'm going to say where this whole long thing is greater than 60, just to make sure that it's relevant. And you'll see that by doing that, we come down here to the things that are least relevant. Remember, our concept here is affiliate marketing. You come down here to the bottom, business program per sale. These are going to be the things that are least relevant, but you get up in here into some keywords that are partially diverse. When they're yellow, that means they're partially diverse. So if our keyword term is affiliate marketing, if this is yellow, it means it contains either the word affiliate or it contains the word marketing. So you can see that you've got partially diverse terms all the way down into the 70s here. Hey, Ross?
Yep.
Do we have a question?
Yes. He wants you to walk through the through the Larry filter.
Okay.
Particularly the last 3 values in the formula.
Okay. We'll give this a go. So, what Larry does is it uses a combination of Bayes and LSI to come up with an idea of what's relevant. So, I have to admit, this Kelley came up with this particular algorithm. Kelley and his wife, actually, who's a math major. So the math is just a smidge beyond me, but I understand the basics. We're taking the Bayesian score. Let's just look over here. It gives us a little bit of a explanation. So the Bayesian probability for the keyword against the top results pages in Google's and Yahoo. So this is the probability. What we do is we take the top 100 results in Google and Yahoo, and we use that as the basis for our LSI, for our corpus for LSI. So what this is doing is it's taking the Bayesian probability against that particular corpus. So that means that that makes it that much more relevant. So it's taking the keyword Bayesian score and it's subtracting the minimum Bayes score. Let's see if we can find a definition for minimum Bayes score here. That might be over in the other. Keyword Bayes score. I don't see minimum Bayes score there. Fascinating. Let me just see if it's over on the other side. Project columns. Oh, that's unhelpful. Well, the minimum Bayesian score is going to be the thing that's most, the keyword that's most tangent. So it's taking the difference between those, and it's looking at the max Bayes score, the keyword that's most relevant against those two. It's dividing it by the difference between the min and the max. And it's adding the LSI scores. The LSI is slightly different in that it's the semantic index as opposed to the Bayesian index. This is probably all Greek, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's looking at the LSI score, the difference between the two LSI scores, and dividing it by, it's dividing all of that, the sum of those two things, against the difference in the LSI score.
Okay, we do
multiplying it by 1.3.
We do have somebody asking, what are the 1.3? Yeah, it's actually very formulaic. We have somebody asking that.
Okay.
So what are the 1.3, 2.3
1.3, 2.3 times 100?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just read it for a second. I would actually have to take this and put it out in something that's going to make a little bit more sense. This is really hard to read like that. Hang on a second. I still don't know that I'm going to be able to tell you, but let me at least give this a little bit more of a try. Divided by that. And then we divide all of that. We're adding that, and we're dividing it by that, multiplied by that. So this is altogether and that's separate. The times 100 I know is to make it meaningful, because when it's not times by 100, then the number's just really, really small. So that's kind of a moot point. But I don't honestly remember why he takes this and multiplies it by a third, 1.3, and then divides the entire thing by 2.3.
It's technical.
Yeah. It's, I have to say, at that point, the math is beyond me.
And if somebody is really interested in the heavy-duty math that we've got here,
we should get Kelly on a call and have him explain.
Let us know. We just actually very seldom have people really want to know the algorithm. Which is why I did not want the algorithm exposed to the public.
And it's been a while since Kelly and I walked through it, and I don't remember it. Sorry about that.
Okay. Next.
What filter should we use to help choose silo headers? Yes, that actually came up in the help desk, I think. So let's look at filters for a second. Let me just see what we've got here in the default that we can take and Supporting keywords, tangent, vertical markets. Let's look at that one. Okay, so this, as you can recognize, Larry, at this juncture, we're making sure that the concept's actually germane, and then we're looking at cost greater than $1 and clicks per day greater than 100, and Google competing pages are greater than the seed term times, so 10% times 1.1, so 10% greater than the seed term. So let me apply the filter. You're not going to get to see the seed term when this happens, so we'll come back to the seed term here in a second. But so what this is saying is that silos that are above, so if affiliate marketing, affiliate marketing is your basic term, then you might want the silos underneath that. But if you were looking at silos that are actually larger than that, then affiliate program, make money online, affiliates, and business. So let's just shift this filter a little bit and say, instead of being something bigger, let's times it by 0.9. Oops, 0.9. All right, so then these ideas are going to be a little bit smaller. Hang on a second. Competing pages. Let's say competing pages less than the seed term times 0.9. That would be helpful. I still get affiliate program. And no. See competing pages times 0.9. Let me just say, let me get rid of the multiplier for a second, see if that makes more sense to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me grab It's going to give me everything despite how relevant it is. Less than seed Google competing pages. Less than or equal to. Oh, I know why this is coming out with so small. All right, so let's do this. Let's cut down the number of clicks per day required to something like 50. There we go. All right, so we've got affiliate marketing, affiliate programs. So let's just look at these for a second. The Larry on PPA, CPM, and PPC are kind of, as well as AdWords, are below what I would normally suggest, right? But you can see where they're still kind of tangentially related. So out of this, at this point, given these parameters, you've got affiliate program and affiliate marketing, or affiliate programs and affiliate marketing, that would kind of make sense. Now, if we weren't so set on the clicks per day at being $1, let's say that being 50 cents would be okay. And we can give that a shot. You can see where that brings in a couple more ideas. AdSense and AdWords, they're still like pretty pathetic as far as the Larry goes. So I can appreciate now why I wasn't coming up with any more while I was fiddling with those other figures. Let's just apply another filter. Let's change this so that, actually it's probably this. Let's bring this down to like 20 clicks per day. Wow. That's just fascinating. Let's just look at our keywords here for a second. Clicks per day, let's just do a sort by clicks per day and see what we've got. So we've got by the time, if we sort this by clicks per day, actually let's, we were trying to find something that's got fewer competing pages than 77 million, which seems like you should be able to. But by the time we've got clicks per day, if you take that down to 100, everything below 100, you've still got some things that have got some reasonable cost per click. All right, so let's try this again. Vertical markets. This is 60. This is greater than $1. Clicks per day are greater than 100. And let's get rid of the competing pages thing. We got any suggestions? Anybody seeing why we're only coming up with like a half a dozen keywords when this goes down like that?
What are you asking, Sue?
Does the cost per click matter when you're finding a silo header? I think so. Well, what I was asking if anybody sees why we're not getting more keywords when we're putting in that filter, because it seems like a bunch more ought to come back. The reason why I look at cost per click is because I want a keyword that's relatively valuable, something that's going to show, like when you're looking for silo keyword, you're looking at a really competitive keyword that's really pertinent to your market, and you want it to be reasonably, have a reasonable amount of conversions, right? So you want it to demonstrate some potential for that conversion. And one of the easiest things to do to demonstrate that potential is to have a cost per click. Now it depends on how wealthy your market is that you're in at the time. So if we grab the column, and like, it's an easier thing to look at in terms of a theme than it is to look at in terms of just a random set of keywords. So let's just create a theme out of this. So if we look at this theme and we sort by cost per click, then you can kind of find your medium. If your upper cost per click affiliate marketing solution, which doesn't really have any searches, but it's got a heck of a cost per click associated with it, and you come down here at the bottom, we've got these that are less than $1, right? So out of that, you've got, your medium runs around $5 or $6 a click. So given that kind of an idea, I would want at least $1 for my silo terms. Now, if I'm down where the average here is like $2, then I'd probably want 40 or 50 cents for a silo term. And then in terms of searches, I definitely want some kind of reasonable amount of searches on it. Now, if you're in a niche, then obviously your searches per day are going to be less than they would be in a market. So, I mean, affiliate marketing is pretty much a market. But let's say that you only wanted to look at the niches within this market. Let's say that we only want to look at stuff that's 10 million pages or lower. So let's look at our filter here and take Google competing pages. Less than, what did I say? 10 million pages, something like that. this is broad match, so 10 million pages might not net you a whole lot. Internet affiliate marketing, like let's say instead of Larry, let's come over here at the cost column and do something like cost per click times the searches per day. Let's just do that. Let's not get too fancy. And then let's sort by that. All right, so now you've got an idea of what your value of searches times cost are, which I can see why I wasn't coming up with too much in the filter now, because that's just not, there aren't too many keywords that meet much of a value there. So you've got plenty of, still got a couple, 3 keywords with plenty of cost per click, but you don't have too many of them with searches.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. Let's take the filter and let's stick this somewhere like 50 million pages and see what happens then. And you've got a few more. Let's take this idea of the custom column. Let's throw that back into the cash flow idea here. Take out that extra 0.01. So this would be if my average sale is $10 a day. Let's throw that down to 0. Makes a little more space. So you can see you're just not generating a lot of money there. There's just that, despite, like, so long as you stay within the idea of a niche within affiliate marketing, I think the idea with affiliate marketing is that it's just so incredibly competitive that by the time you get down into something that's relatively easy to rank for, or seems to be, but based on the number of competing pages, you just aren't going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, since this filter and column are sticky, we could go to a different market and see if those same concepts bear more fruit someplace else. Let's try, see if I've got web hosting. I know I've got affordable web hosting. Geez, you'd think I used this tool a little bit. Website hosting, let's try that. So just to remind me what's in my filter, we've got, we're looking at a theme, and we're looking at Google competing pages less than 50 million. So, yeah, we can, there's a little bit more money here. Web hosting is also incredibly competitive, but there are some, there's a few niche ideas over here that would net you a little bit of money. So, so if I were looking for niche silo terms, that would probably be what I would look at. And if I were happy to like go for a market, then I'd probably do something like that. And I'd probably also, I'd put a lower limit on it too. And say, and keywords greater than what do we got there? So between 10 mil and 100 mil, something like that. Let's see what that brings back. So now you got 30 keywords. That's a reasonable number of keywords in my humble opinion to sort from. And yeah, there's a little bit of money there. Not too much, but a little bit. Does that make sense to everybody?
Okay. Yes. Excellent.
Good. Now, I went over to the bicycle market, which is a much less expensive market. And check this out. You're looking for some silo terms, electric bike with, where we were seeing like in the maybe a couple $100. We're looking at like $7,000. Bike frame, mountain bike, bicycling, cruiser bikes. So, and not all that. By comparison, not terribly competitive. Reasonable searches per day. Just a completely different view because it's a completely different market. Cool. So yeah, so for this market, I mean, I really like those terms there. I'd have to see what they were. I'd have to export that and just to, like, check out how competitive they really are on the phrase match. But those would be some really nice silo terms. But again, if you wanted to go niche, like let's just look niche for a second. Let's get rid of this and let's bring this back down. Let's take off 2 zeros there. Okay. So these are all under 1 million, and they're all reasonable in my humble opinion. Those are some nice keywords. Truck bike, lowrider bike, cruiser bike, chopper bike, even Marin bikes, Surly bikes, some brand names. Okay. When we decide on a silo term, and drill into that term. Oh, absolutely. So let's say that cruiser bicycle.
Okay, what's the question, Sue? We need to read the question out loud.
Sorry. There we go. I thought I finished that. So,
no.
So once you've decided on your silo terms, do you drill into the silo terms to find the rest of the keywords for that silo? And I would say absolutely, because I'm here under bicycles, right? So all of these keywords, the Larry for all of these keywords are going to be geared toward bicycles. I want to know what keywords are actually germane to cruiser bicycle if that's going to be my silo term. So I would just drill into that term. I'd just pick it up and drop it into a new keyword project. Truck bikes, whichever keywords I want, just grab those and create new projects out of all of them. And then you're going to know within that particular drill what's actually the most germane to those things. It'll bring out a whole lot more keywords around that topic. And then you'll have more keywords to choose from, as well as knowing exactly what's germane to those particular brands or those particular types of bikes. Like antique bicycle. That would be a fun one. Matt says yesterday he starts with the top 10 to 50 keywords in a market. You want to filter for X number of keywords. You know, well, first of all, I'll say that probably all three of us have radically different ways of starting our keyword or market research. But when you talk about the top number of keywords, I would assume that you're going to filter them somehow, and then you're going to sort them somehow so that you have an idea of what your top keywords are. So for instance, right now I've got these sorted by cash flow so that potentially my most profitable keywords pop up to the top. And there's no way to actually, let me just think about that for a second. There's no way that I can say, just give me the X number of keywords. But I would, in my filter, I would probably qualify that somehow. At the moment we've got it qualified by Relevance and we've got it qualified by Google Competing Pages. And changing that filter is going to change what floats to the top. For example, If I get rid of that, then you're going to see a lot more competitive keywords on the top. So it just kind of depends. Don't know if that really answers the question, but the short answer is there a way to filter for 10 keywords or something like that? No. I would probably just export them so that I've got them in a list and then just grab them and drop them into my keyword project. If we have 2 keywords that have the same cost per click and searches, should we target the keyword with the least competing pages? The same cost per click and the same searches. My first qualification would be which keyword is more germane to my positioning, which keyword is more important, which keyword addresses the pain in the marketplace the most, and if all of that is equal, then yes, I would take the least competing pages. TLKT for dummies. That's a fascinating concept. That's actually an interesting concept to explore. Let me just go back and see what your last question was. Oh, the 10 to 50. Oh, I see what you're saying. So basically, I think what Matt was talking about in his 10 to 50 keywords was he has a bot that he uses to automate his market research. And that's how he grabs the X number of keywords off the top. He's got a filter, a predefined filter, and all that kind of good stuff. And what we're going to start to offer are some of those ideas in a done for you. So if you really want to get TLKT for dummies, yeah, absolutely. You'll be able to buy a DFY product in the not too distant future that will get you all of that in a nice little package, just like a series of exports or something along those lines. All right, the next question. I would approach bicycles only for a local market. What do you think about? Here's the thing with local markets. Google is, how can I say this nicely? Google doesn't like to give you too much data. It's not in their best interest to give you too much data. They're in the business of making money through their AdWords, and so they want you to spend as much money with them while still making money. So they tend to give you more information on broader terms and not so information on local terms. So what I tend to do is I do my research on a national level, in other words, without any locale information, and then let's say that I'm happy with this keyword list. Actually, I would qualify this just a little bit more and get rid of these lower keywords here. Just because if you don't have any searches on a national level, if you don't have at least a search per day on a national level, then by the time you get down into locale, you're going to have maybe a search a year, right? So let's take a reasonable number of searches, let's say above 10 or something like that. So let's just come back here to the apply filter thing and go keyword searches per day. Greater than 10, something like that. Apply that filter. All right, so now I've got a list of keywords that I'm happy with. I would export this into Excel, and I would prepend or append my locale onto that keyword so that I'd have like Phoenix Cruiser Bikes, Phoenix Bike Cruiser, Phoenix Trek Bicycles, all that kind of good stuff. So I've got these 10 or 20 keywords all with my locale prepended or appended, and I would hang on to this list. I'd hang on to that export, just keep it to the side for a minute. And then I would come back here and I would import those keywords that I've got that have the locale on it. And then we can do a search and say, let me just bounce back here to another drill that I know where I've got stuff imported. You can come back here and you can say, keyword was imported. Come here to the apply filter and say keyword was imported, and you'll get just your imported keywords back, right? So then you've got your list of locales along with your bicycle list, and you can see which of those have data. So the keywords that actually have data are keywords that I would make sure that I use, because you know that those have got searches on a local level. And then usually it's not enough keywords to actually create an entire website out of, so then I go back to that national list and I use those keywords that have got the most searches in it with my locale. And so then that'll get you the keywords that you're looking for. It'll guarantee that you're going to get searches. Because it's on a locale level, it's going to be much easier to rank. You can just yeah, it's just much easier to rank. We've got some stuff in the members area about how to rank for locales, and you should be good to go. You should guarantee that you've got some reasonable traffic that way.
Cool.
Okay. The cash flow custom filter in the chat box, absolutely. That's the cash flow custom filter that I just pasted to everybody. And I'll make sure that I hang on to that. That's a column, actually. Was it the column that you wanted? Good. Because I messed up the filter. So I'm glad. All right. So, okay, so what we were doing, we were going down the custom column screen. Long ago, far away. Let's see what else we've got here. Pay-per-click market value. That's just the cost per click times the Google clicks per day times 365, because normally it's a daily thing. So that gives you the pay-per-click market value on a yearly. That just, like, by multiplying it by a year, it just helps the numbers to kind of stick out one from another a little bit better. You can see, if we take the times 365, like what I want to show you first. This is $16,000. This is $129,000. And so right now, when you look at those two things, you go, wow, there's a huge difference. Not that there isn't a huge difference between fruit juice and commercial roofing, but it looks like there's a really huge difference in terms of the money, right? So if we come back here to the custom column and you remove the times 365, then it's a difference between $44 and $354, which doesn't look nearly as dramatic. And I mean, it's an interesting thing that I want to point out for a couple of different reasons. For one, when you're doing your filters like that, both for you as well as for your client, you can make a huge impact by putting in a multiplier like that. But also, I want you to be aware of it because it's a common thing that people do in marketing. And if you're aware of it, then you can diffuse that in your brain. You can, like, when you see huge differences in numbers, you can kind of take that extra look at, is there a reason? Have they multiplied it by something to make that look so incredibly dramatic? So what's our next column? We talked about KEI the last time. That's kind of fun. Low-hanging fruit. And this is, actually, let me see if there's another version of KEI in here. Yeah, Keyword Effectiveness Indicator. So this is an idea in its most simple form. It's an idea of the difference. If you take the clicks per day and you divide it by the competing pages, it gives you a perspective of where there are opportunities. So let's just do this for a second. And the reason why this is squared is just to make the clicks per day more obvious. It's the same thing as what I was talking about, multiplying something by 365. You want to put more emphasis on the clicks per day than you do on the competing pages, because clicks per day is normally a really small number and competing pages are normally a really huge number. So just to divide those two doesn't do too much, but if you square this, then it starts to do a little bit more. I think too we want to put the precision down to 2 to really show up anything. And I want to come in here to the filter and give us a few more keywords so you can see something. Alright, so that's the basic idea, and as you can see, that particular version of KEI, I think even if I come in here to the custom column and I put in a few more, another decimal place, it still doesn't really help too much. And you get a little bit more information. So you can see the difference between some of these things. But it's still not terribly meaningful. So I'm just going to play with numbers here for a minute, right? So what you can do is you can take the entire thing and you can multiply it by 100, which helps to bring that difference up a little bit more visibly. Alright, so now we're starting to, first of all, we've got data on a few more keywords, quite a number more keywords actually, and these things at the top, they start to stick out a little bit further, right? You've got the difference between 5 and less than 1. Now, this is where I went and did my own version of it, and I got quite extreme. I took that same idea, the clicks per day, times 100 squared, right, to really emphasize that number, and divided it by the competing pages. And then all of this is in the divisor, the competing pages times Larry. Oh, the reason I multiplied it by Larry was because I only wanted those things, so if it's actually thematically relevant, I wanted it to be even more important. So this is like relevance plus KEI. Let's see what happens here. So now you get, yeah, and this is actually a little bit better. So jobs is definitely more relevant to home business than the things that were at the top before. So, but you still have these things like volcano vaporizer, which you kind of have, I mean, I know that was an imported keyword, but still you have to wonder about how relevant that is to home businesses. But anyway, so you can see here how adding that in the divisor not only brought the things that were more relevant to the top, but it also made the number substantially larger so that you can actually start to see where differences come in. So that's just kind of like fun with numbers. No more comments on any of this stuff, huh? Okay. So let's go back to the idea of, let's go back to the cash flow column. Take out the thing with the affiliate and just bring that in. And let's look now at articles, because we looked at silos before. So actually, let me grab Larry. If you don't save it, it doesn't actually change what's in your column. greater than 60, and I want the Google competing pages to be less than the seed competing pages. Seed Google competing pages. I don't just want it to be less than the seed competing pages, but I want it, I'm going to assume that I've drilled into this term that I've drilled into is my silo term, and so I actually want it to be like only like 90% of the competing pages of my seed term so that it's truly subordinate. So I'm going to apply that filter. Now, fascinatingly enough, that doesn't give me too many choices. So under 10 best home businesses, I'd have top home businesses, home business startup, and home business. That's one heck of a long tail. Home business opportunity, best home business opportunity, and no, I wouldn't have that one. Like, I would just throw that out. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it does give me two keywords here. That being the same, excuse me, so only having two keywords just doesn't sit very well with me. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to lower my requirements on how thematically relevant the keyword has to be and see what happens. Oh, look at that. That gives me so many more terms to choose from. Now I've got 40. That's excellent. So, yeah, definitely from there. Home business startup, mom home business, working moms. I could definitely come up with some article ideas in there. So let me just drop that filter in for you guys. And this is the article filter. What did I have for, oh, I've just got the cash flow column going on. Are there any questions about that? Or something related?
Stephen is asking more about DWS, so.
Okay.
Preferred drills where market dominant. I want you to read it before I read it out loud because I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay. Market domination, golden niches, and supporting keywords. So we had, we actually have still some filters that we've either incorporated into Domain Web Studio, like the golden niches filters, or we've got some filters in the members area for golden niches and supporting keywords and that kind of an idea. And yeah, and so Stephen's question is, would there be any validity in exporting the drills and give extra credence to any keywords appearing on all of those preferred keyword lists? Chances are high you're not going to see these keywords, you're not going to see the same keywords on all of those different filters, because market domination is geared specifically toward, let me just see if market domination is here. Yeah. Market domination is going to be more toward broader terms. You've got some interesting ideas going on here. Keyword uses is greater than 1, and the cost per click is greater than 50 cents, and the keyword term count is greater than 2. That's the number of shingles in the keyword. So, for example, there's 2 keyword counts here. There's 3 keyword counts here. market domination. And then a relevance greater than 40. Those are going to bring you, just because, yeah, like that's just a nice filter. That doesn't really actually limit you to anything particularly large. No, it doesn't. That's actually going to bring you back a lot of keywords that just have got a reasonable value. And they're not too broad because the term count is at least a 2. The idea of, you know, I would probably, yeah, it brought you back 20. Sometimes, depending on what kind of a market you're in, having the number of uses greater than 2, it might not bring you back too much. Uses is a different way of determining how relevant something is other than Larry. And sometimes it does. Like if I change this custom column to Larry just for a second, you can see how these things shift. So you can have, for example, this Larry is only 50, and yet it's used 3 times on your competitors' websites, which is pretty high, all things considered. So I would say that making money online has got quite a bit to do with a home business, and yet from a semantic perspective, it's not as relevant. So it's germane to the market, but semantically not as relevant. So it's a fascinating, you get some fascinating juxtapositions there. Oftentimes I'll use uses in conjunction with Larry. So in other words, if the Larry is going to be lower than 60, then the uses has to be greater than 2. And that way I get everything that's thematically relevant, or at least that my competitors consider thematically relevant. You can get a larger semantic array that way. But back to your question, would you have the same keywords in all of those, or would you be looking for the same keywords in all of those? I probably wouldn't attack it that way. You could, but I probably wouldn't, just because I like a little bit more diversity than probably what would come back from those 3 filters by themselves, all 3 filters. Building a simple webinar. You know, you can't build an entire website from start to finish using TLKT and Domain Web Studio in a single webinar. We have tried, and to really do it justice, it takes about 4 webinars. So that's why we've got webinar series that do that. And I think Matt's getting ready to do another one with all of the latest changes. But we can't actually attack it all within a reasonable amount of time. You guys would be throwing sticks at me. Trust me.
Okay.
So so we talked about, I think I've got one more filter in here. Let's look at the golden niches filter for a second. Clicks per day greater than 1, competing pages less than 500,000, and a thematic relevance that's 40 or above. That's okay. That's not really what I was looking for, though. What I'm trying to find is supporting keywords. That'll work. So supporting keywords, you've got the competing pages less than the seed term. Oh, that's a hard way to get at this. So I'm taking the seed term times 5%, and I'm subtracting that from, oh wow, I wrote that back when I hadn't had enough coffee. But it still works. It's still perfectly fine. It's just a little bit more convoluted than it needs to be. Rather than subtracting this, I could just do a multiplication. I could times this by 0.95. 0.95. And this is greater than 40. Yeah, that's okay. I'd probably make it 60. So my competing pages is less than my seed term, and it's thematically relevant. I might change it down to 40. Now I see there's only 2 terms. All right. And so it's a pretty similar idea to what I was looking for articles. If I wanted to get articles and supporting keywords out of the same drill, then I would do something like this. If I were looking for what I had a minute ago was 90% for the articles, and in a perfect world, I would drill into each one of those articles. Let's say home business startup was something that I really wanted to use as an article. The best thing to do would be to drill into that to get my supporting terms. But if I didn't want to drill into it, what I can do is I can look for startup. So let's take this filter. Let's do an and. Keyword matches pattern. There's all different kinds of ways that you can do this pattern. I'm going to grab this one as an example. Keyword matches. I'm going to do a %, which is a wildcard, start space up, and then another %, which is another wildcard. So I'm looking for startup anywhere in the keyword, just to see. Now that's the only keyword. Let me just close this so you can see. That's the only keyword with startup in it. That's such a bummer. If I can't find something that's somewhat close to that concept, oh, check that out. Now I've got it without a space. Home business startup. It's both the same idea. So if I can't find any keyword that's kind of got that idea of startup or a synonym of startup that I can think of just right off the top of my head, then I'm going to have to drill into it to find some supporting keywords. But if I'm not quite so picky, let me just go back to all of this keyword list here for a second and find another something that might be a little bit more like we've got this idea of top or best. Let's just see what else is there with best. So instead of trying to match start, let's match best. All right, so there's a few ideas for best. This crazy keyword term that I would just absolutely throw out. Best home-based businesses, best home-based business franchise, and best affiliate programs. So I might be able to take something in there and use as supporting terms for, like, probably I would pick the most competitive out of these. Affiliate program is a slightly different concept, but let's say that they were all home business based. I would grab the most competitive term and use that probably as the article term, and then use the other concepts as supporting terms. So that's a cheap way to shorten your timeline. See if you can get all of your keywords out of maybe 1 or 2 drills. Probably if you drilled into something a little bit more generic like home businesses rather than 10 best home businesses, you'd get some more generic terms that you could use for your articles. Okay, so
Okay, there was a question about whether or not we have a WordPress theme for the Silo website design, and the answer to that is we currently do not. We do have advocates and users who have built WordPress themes, and we cannot endorse them because we haven't tested them adequately. Those include the folks at SEO Ultimate. They did build a theme that was designed to be used effectively with the Silo plugin called siloblogbuilder.com, the plugin that we have that goes with Domain Web Studio. So hopefully that answers questions, but we are not endorsing or confirming whether that theme is ideal because we have not tested it. SEO has not looked at it. All right. So are there any more questions on the particular filters that Sue has been showing? Okay. All right, we're at the top of the hour, so we should probably begin to wrap up this session for today. Do you have other things that you want to clarify today, Sue?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything. We've looked at importing some keywords. We've applied filters and columns and
great. So,
created a project. So yeah.
we've left you some filters to look at and play around with. That's part of what we like to do during the calls, is leave you with some of the filters that we use. And we are looking at this probably being the last webinar this year. So 2013 is going to be an amazing year where, as you can tell, we're really ramping up and integrating everything. QKT is one of the many tools that we're integrating into the Domain Web Studio application. And it is one of the first major natural language processing tools that we built that was focused on keywords. And we're going to be integrating this into Domain Web Studio. As you already know, this tool does export, and you can import these keywords directly into Domain Web Studio in the appropriate format. Adjustments have been made on the export file so that they work in conjunction with Domain Web Studio. You do not have to run any bots for those of you who might have been early 2012 adapters. Now you can just import the spreadsheet directly with the phrase match, I believe, is what we're looking at.
Yep, exactly.
Phrase match is required in Domain Web Studio for the proper calculation of swallowing your market whole and building out large empires and sites that focus on thousands of keywords. So as you can see, you do not have that phrase match available on the screen here, but you do have it in the export sheet, and that's what's important to import it into Domain Web Studio. Okay. Hopefully I really want everybody to have a fantastic Christmas, and we're going to be having an amazing 2013 as we begin to incorporate all these things. You'll be able to mill out sites left and right. I'll show you how to export these and import them into Domain Web Studio. Matt and I have already talked about having a Domain Web Studio just focused on the import function. We have all kinds of great stuff coming up in 2013. I hope all of you have a really very Merry Christmas, and your New Year's resolution is to make a ton of money and be able to mill out sites and hopefully double, quadruple, times 10 whatever income you currently have. And we'd like to be right there to help you effectively and efficiently execute all the various tools and products that we have, help you build your empire. So thanks a lot, Sue, for being with us today.
Hey, thank you, Russell. We will take a break with our webinars over the holidays, but on January 1st, we're going to welcome in the new year with our members-only webinar. So if you guys get the opportunity to join us, love to see you there. If not, you guys have a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll catch you on the inside.
Yeah.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected.